Good morning. Good morning, how are we doing? Just getting our colours sorted, having our coffee. Good morning, guys. Hello to all of you. All right, we're just going to be continuing using Mini Color, our new paint range, with our great Unclean one, who I must say, especially in the hand rather than on camera, he's looking funky. He is looking really, really high impact. The difficulty with painting like this is I've got quite a lot of white in my highlights, so on camera they're kind of disproportionately showing up. But what he does do is he passes the low light test super well. That's with no lights on whatsoever. There you go, that's my normal lighting setup. But yeah, this is made to look good in any environment, and he's almost providing his own light with these bold striking highlights. And it's something that I like to do for gaming armies or tournaments, or however you want to put it, just being enjoyed in any environment rather than on Instagram under perfect lighting with a fancy camera. Are any greys coming in the range? Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either, but here we are. I'm awake, albeit a little tired from traveling back from Italy yesterday, but I am here. There are greys coming in the range, not quite yet, but any gaps you've noticed that seem obviously missing, there's a high likelihood we're going to be fixing in the fairly near future or middle future, depending on our order of priority. Our order of priority is starting with metallics. Easy, been a while. Right, so let's get cracking. A little bit more coffee and then we'll be good to go. We have Papa, and the sequence that we've been doing with him is some simple wet blending, very, very simple. And then we're just kind of phasing it into these jades, and we're finishing / using for underpainting lemon, which is absolutely brilliant. It's a lovely color. Oh, no worries, easy. Well, thank you for popping in. Nice to see you, albeit briefly. When you which model is that? There's so many models these days. On Vampire Lord on Angry Horsey, we did a vampire horse one, but it was just a normal trooper rather than a character. All right, let's get cracking. Just gonna reposition this a little. My lights. Yes, metallics as well. Definitely coming. If I say definitely, we're not going to release anything until we can get it right. So I'm just going to give this a dust because I've been away for a little bit. And it's always a sensible move. Yes, it was a sensible move. If we can get metallics right, we will do them. Yes. If we can't, we'll try getting them right until they are right, and then we'll release them. And if we can't get them right, we won't release them. Thank you, Roll. So we just used Midnight. Tell you what, I'm gonna slap Midnight down all over, and then we'll get out the other paints. So now is a really good time if you have kind of just general painting questions while I'm doing an extremely basic task to get them in. Notice I'm using pretty thick paint here. People, I believe, have the wrong negative impression of thick paint. Thick paint isn't bad. Thick paint is bad if it obscures details, if it's that thick, or if you disturb it while it's drying, while it's partially dry, because then you get like this kind of cracked, crackled, obviously wrong thick paint look. But thick paint can be useful. That's what we're using here. I don't know if I should break his belly into a couple of sections. I think maybe that would be sensible because it is so big. It's a very fast and loose painting. Morning, Jim. Grant, very funny and maybe on the nose. So I'll answer the questions in order. Excellent questions, by the way. We learned a lot getting the first set out, and I'm pretty sure that is going to make getting subsequent sets out easier. Now, metallics might be an exception to that because metallics are their own special and frankly quite difficult thing. So maybe metallics would be an exception to that. That's part of the reason we want to start as soon as possible in case we have to spend a long time to get them right. But we're confident that each set is now going to be easier to get out. And also we're not doing 63 metallics. So that should really help. If anyone is wondering what I'm talking about mini color, which are our wonderful paints. You can see them in the background and you can still late pledge for them now. Don't know why I've got Stormcast Shields blue tagged to that mini color sticker, but I have. Okay. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm just going to base coat. I'm going to get all of his belly with Midnight, and then we'll decide what sections we're going to do. Robin, yeah, I wish that too, but if maybe if other people took the same approach as us, then there wouldn't be as many ranges out. So I like the variety, and I'm happy to be the people that take their time and get things right. Mike, what spray undercoats do you prefer? Personally, I always use Chaos Black. Even if I'm going to turn it white, I still start with Chaos Black. I appreciate that watching me base coat isn't hugely entertaining currently, but it's the best time to ask questions that are going to take me a little while to answer because I'm not particularly concentrating now. We'll see if we can convince Vince. That'd be a crowning glory if we could convince Vince. I'm confident we'll do a very good job. Vic, it is definitely not too late. You can go to our website and you can still get an early price discount. You can late pledge, and that basically kind of bootstraps you into the Kickstarter, even though you missed it. Thank you, Robin, for your help. Thanks, Ross. Good morning, Fohammer. No jab at Vallejo's new TMMMMs. I've used a couple and they're actually not bad at all. So yeah, no, I think they're a pretty solid range. Generally speaking, I have quite a high opinion of a lot of the paint ranges out there. Luckily for us, or however you want to put it, all of those ranges, all the new ranges are trying to do something a bit different from ours. So we really felt justified in adding ours to the high quality selection of different ones available. You got a lot of very good quality matte maximum coverage ranges that maybe haven't prioritized color as much, which is cool. It's great to have brilliant coverage always on every color, but we have gone for like super colorful satin, which I think is a real plus. Satin is underrated. Games Workshop satin for good reason. It's durable, it's easy to get deeper, cooler colors. I mean, check out what I'm doing now. I only base coated and it looks amazing. It's got a better drying time. You can do stuff like wet blending with it, which we'll be doing soon. and it's easier to make paints that mix well with others when they're not mega matte, mega coverage as well. So we're really happy with what we went for, and that it's also nicer to use in our opinion, in all of our opinions, mine, Andy's, and Henry's from Cult of Paint. We all had the same opinion, and we tried out some heavily matte bases, and that really kind of brought it home for us. It's just nicer to use satin paints, in our opinion. Matte paints have a place, but if you're going to pick one, generally, we thought that satin was the best bet. So, yeah, absolutely. People using additives, and we thought we'd just start start satin so people don't need any additives. Any other general questions? Puppy is already looking pretty good. Another hidden plus of satin, or no, not a reason to use it over others, but a little plus of it is it's very easy to tell the lighting on your figures once you've base coated. You can see where, like, this is going to be the most highlighted section on his belly for sure. I disagree. I like watching boring basic rigging done, seeing how others do it. Mike, all right then. I hope that I'm not sure if I missed a comment. Was someone saying that I'm being dull on stream, or was that me saying I'm being dull on stream? I feel slightly different about it if I'm saying it versus others. Hopefully I can say useful things while I'm doing my base coating. Fingers crossed. I'm a little bit croaky because I only got back from I was traveling back from Monte San Savino show in Italy yesterday, and I only got back at like 11 at night, so straight to work. I'm in Italian time zone still, so I've been up for a little while anyway. It's nothing compared to working in Vegas and getting back and waking up at 4 in the morning though, so I will thank my lucky stars. Right, so I'm just going to base coat these areas, and then we can continue with the meat of things. Notice that our paint is still drying. It's not like super slow, but it does give you really good working time. And if you're doing wet on wet, or if you live in a hot or dry climate, which is about half or 60% of the painting world, I think it's very, very useful. Sorry if there's noise outside. That's Manchester's bars recycling bins being emptied 8 stories below me. Raoul, that's a great question. Do you dilute your paint on your palette, or do you leave it there neat? Because I leave it there neat. The moment you add water, paint starts evaporating much faster. So I leave it there neat, and then I add water to the paint I'm using, rather than having it down there wet. And I think that's you notice here's my patch of neat paint, and then I pull it to the side, and that's where I make it wet on the palette. So because my paint's, the majority of it is neat, it's undiluted, and then it's only diluted when I'm using it, that keeps it workable for longer. I'm doing this slower than I would do normally because I'm talking, but it wasn't going to be a high-paced stream given I'm a little bit tired anyway. Grant, where are you at? Your boat ain't moving. How nice is this color though? This is just over black, bear in mind. Look at it is such a useful color. I'll think I'm going to hit up all of him while we're here because it'll be useful for future streams. So anyone got general questions about mini color or our brushes or painting in general? I'm very keen on questions about effective painting. You know, people painting in order to get minis finished and looking solid as fast as possible. So if anyone's got questions on that subject, I would be really happy to answer them. It's one of my passions. I'll, of course, answer any questions about the paint, which you can still back now. And it is up for a very, very good price if you want a good incentive to back now rather than waiting. Although we're happy to sell it to you in retail at a later date. Bajim, very, very nice. We're really, really proud of the London store. It's got good staff as well. Did you get to chat to Sean, the manager? He's a bit of a normie. He doesn't look like a gamer. Right, so the useful thing about me base coating these sections is this is quite like a messy bit of the mini. There's a lot going on, especially with his little beardy tentacles, and it can be really, really useful to get a few stages of them done before you do the areas around it, because I'm probably going to end up painting this by accident at some point. So it's just sensible to work in this order. He looks like he's wearing a vest. So funny. Great unclean one in a big basketball vest. That's a paint scheme. Oh, lovely. Still here, Ross. It's very nice to have you in. All right, I've seen some questions that I might have missed. Christian, will we have a mini color guide to match what colors are in other ranges? Yeah, and any guides that we do, we're going to give you equivalents. But if you're looking to take your favorite, like Games Workshop paint, we'll have a mix, and that means that when you come over, you should be able to quite easily mix up an equivalent. If I don't know, if you're trying to paint your Blood Angels in the same way, but with our paints, for example. Good question. Do ask any follow-ups. What else we got? Artis Opus Brush less than a month. Haven't painted about a week, but I know the brush doesn't keep a sharp point when completely dry, but does when I wet and reshape it. That's normal. What you can do is you can leave it wet. So if you like, you can either lick it or you can put a little bit of the soap on it that comes in our set, and you just shape it into the perfect point, and then leave it hanging over the edge of your desk so it gets good air circulation around it overnight, and it'll like shampoo and set it into that point, and then you just kind of rinse it in the morning and off you pop, or when you next go. Weathered stone effect. I absolutely do. So Grant, take a look at some pictures of rocks, and then have a look at some of our tutorials on stippling. And stippling is a really, really good technique for doing this. But the really important thing is you want to sneak in some colors there. And even if you're doing like gray stone, you probably want to have like a bit of brown and a bit of green in there. Some would maybe even have a bit of blue. But go online, check out some references, and have a look at what colors appear in the stones. You won't need much of them, but just a little bit will make a very big difference. I've got a color here. Okay. So something like this will come up in stone way more than you think. That's gherkin. Where's browns? And then so this is mahogany. Something like that will also very likely appear in stone also. And it's really important to hit the right colors because that's a strong association. If your stone looks natural colors, you don't need to paint it as well. If something is reminiscent of, like limestone or sandstone or something that you've seen, all of your life or in pictures or whatever, or just looks natural, it really, really helps. You don't need to paint as well if you are using the right colors. They do work on other minis. In fact, great excuse for me to answer this question. Andy Wardle has won several Golden Demons using them already. He's used them on Fuegan. He's used them on Glutos or Scullion. He had some very wonderful purple trousers. He's used them on Eldar Seer Council, Farseer Council. They definitely work on other minis. And I've used them on a lot of other stuff. In fact, I've used them on red minis. And I've used them on blue minis as well. I've used them on plenty of more colors than that. Yeah, they're excellent. Yeah, the purple trousers are really special. Painting water? What? What did I miss? This isn't for sale. This is especially mine. And I went and got new water for this stream because I've been away. It was completely full of dust. All right, I'm going to finish painting around his head, and then I'll stop base coating because I realize you guys probably want to see something slightly more entertaining. Do keep the questions coming. Just repeat them if I miss them because I'm going to have to probably work quite fast when we start the wet blending section of this. I'm also going to give him a little bit of a hair dry before we begin. Just want to scoot around and make sure I've not missed any obvious sections. We won't be painting all of the area I've base coated. I just took the opportunity to do it. It's quite important when you're doing a technique like this to pick where you're, how much of the model you're going to do at once. So for this one, I'd suggest picking sections that are kind of denoted by his folds, which are quite helpful. So you could, like, face would be one because you want to concentrate on the face anyway. His boobies, probably another to this underfold here. And then stomach is arguably one or two sections if we're going to be sensible. Thorax Gaming. It has already ended, but you can late pledge and still get in on it. Robin, painting makes you look at the world differently. I look at cracked pavements like a weirdo. Thor Hacks, check out the late pledges. Still available. You can still get in on the Kickstarter now. Yes. So this, Ross is asking whether this wonderful paint holding apparatus that I have got finalized. It has. So there's going to be a founder edition and it's got wall mounting on the back. People asked for that, but we'd already realized that it was something we needed to do. I'm just going to hair dry. Apologies. It's really cold in the UK. I enjoyed that. I'm a bit warmer myself. So the Great Unclean one's a bit warm now. I'm just going to let it cool down and we're going to get some paints out and we can start doing the wet blending. They are available in the Kickstarter. It does currently, David Ellis, good question. But this is a format that we can duplicate and I think it will look extremely beautiful when we have duplicated it. I mean, if you could put them vertically on a wall or even stacked on top of each other, it's going to look like, I don't know, like amps or speakers because the styling is just so pretty and the text is wonderful. So, yeah, I think for those of you who have that little completionist collector part, which quite a lot of us do have, let's be honest, it'll be really both enjoyable and practical when we've got more and we've expanded the range. Hello, the word applied. I can't read all of your name. It's too fast for me. Okay, I'm gonna limit how many paints I've got out. And what we're doing at the moment is we're just going to be laying foundations with wet blending. This is a technique people think is scarier than it actually is. And you need to remember that as long as you're working wet on wet, it's fine. And this does not need to be neat. We're just laying like a rough foundation. On top of that foundation, we're going to do some other work. So let's go. You don't always need to lay down a protective layer. There's probably some people more expert than me in the chat. Ross is quite good at that type of question, if Mr. Fohammer is still here. Right, we're gonna go for painting all of his belly, and we're gonna see how realistic it is that we're gonna manage to hit all of that. I'm gonna make a mix with a tiny bit of the jade in. And we're essentially gonna lay this down absolutely everywhere. Now, notice what I was saying earlier about water. We don't have much water in here, and that's going to mean that this stays workable for longer. The area that's hard to reach under his arm is just going to end up dark because that'll be more forgiving for us, frankly. But we can pretend it's because of shadows or something. So let's take a little bit more of the jade. I'm going to start lightening up the top of these folds. Hopefully this is showing up well on camera. I think it's quite a good angle for it actually. So everywhere that is facing up, which is going to be quite a lot of his belly. The nice thing is if we work fast, because we're adding paint now, we're continuing to stall the drying time and we're moving things around. If anything doesn't go right, I can go and darken it. So it's not just going one way. We're not just working up lighter and lighter. But I can go and I will be putting in some darker colors as well. Okay, get those folds. Right, wash brush, just to like reset the brush. What is Tajmir? Sable is notably above everything else in the world, though, so I can probably still answer that. Did I have a standout submission from Monty? Maxim's Ogre is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, it's that man is just so talented. It's just absolutely beautiful. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to bring in an art reference. So this was painted by me and Zamikito, Simon, probably, if we're going to pronounce his name appropriately. We can try not to do it the English way. Right, okay, so let's continue. Reset my brush in my water. Now I'm going to go a little bit braver, pretty much pure jade, and we're going to try and pick out these. So as each time you start, your brush is going to be more like the current color, and then the further you go, it's going to pick up and mix with your previous color more and more. So that's just something you need to be aware of. It doesn't matter if things are not incredibly smooth at this point. We're not going for incredibly smooth at any point, really. It's going to be punchy, and we're trying to be a bit general here, less specific. And I think because this is quite a big soft section, the folds aren't crazy apart from these top ones. We're going to get quite a lot of value from coming back in and shading underneath the folds. But as you can see, it's quite a forgiving process. It is starting to look a little bit more like he's lit up, though. I told you Ross would be knowledgeable on the process. YouTube informed me that I can now set mods on lives. Maybe Ross should be a mod, given his authority on many subjects. Okay, so we're going to just continue being brave and working quite fast. I now have fairly pure spearmint on the go. Sorry, is it spearmint? Jade. Spearmint's coming. And we need to remember to cover quite a large amount of the model with this, because we've got to leave room for our highlights. I don't want to do like a load of glazing to fix this, so more bravery required. Keeping my strokes in the direction of his folds. That's going to hide any mistakes we have. There we go. Right, so quickly, before we start screwing things up because things are drying, fuzz that bit out. Take Midnight, pure Midnight, turn him upside down, and everywhere that I can see these undersides to folds, I'm going to make sure they're properly in shadow. This is to suggest a bit of lighting. See what that's done? And because we're wet blending, even working fast like this, we've got the opportunity to smoothen things a little bit, not tons, but a little. So wash brush, and then we could just fuzz along that edge. Anywhere where we've gone too far, essentially pull from the light section into the dark section. We are good. Lovely. Just gonna hair dry. I absolutely took the opportunity to hairdry my fingers there. Getting cold. So can we see that kind of, hopefully that's showing up. It's like deep sea blue vibes. This is the start that we want to go from that we have elsewhere on the model. I'm going much slower than this technique would normally be because I'm talking. None of us can really multitask, can we? Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you a little bit of pre-shading. This area is one of the focal points for the model. It's an important part, so I want it to be really bright. Therefore, what we're going to do is get out some of our other colors. That's lemon. It's an incredible highlight color that we have. This is spearmint. Spearmint's already got a lot more white in it. Lemon has even more white, so these are both punchy and powerful. Fingerless painting gloves. I have a personal, it's not very fair because they are genuinely useful in a lot of circumstances, but I have a personal problem with people using gloves in painting videos because I think half of them are just trying to look cool like tattooists in black gloves. What do you guys think about that? Is there any validity to that, or am I being needlessly judgmental and cruel? Plenty of painters I like use them as well, I'll say. So maybe I'm answering my own question there. Right, we're putting down some brave pre-highlights. This is just where our highlights are going to end up, and it's going to make them brighter if they go over white. I know that this looks a bit full on, but it'll be okay, I promise. And all of the lip of this is going to end up pretty bright too. This is quite a difficult section to get right because it's so three-dimensional. Just try and be general. And you can always put down a wash or something if you've got stuff in your recesses that ultimately you decide shouldn't be there. Sapphic flop. Yeah, I drop things as well, Robin. Let's be honest about this. I get way more drops if I'm wearing gloves, even if they're grippy. And I'm a little bit, as I'm sure many of us are, a little bit sensory obsessive, so I don't like feeling encumbered at all. All right, take a tiny bit of midnight. This stuff already dried. Often paints with white and dry faster. Not sure if you guys knew that, but it's definitely a thing. So now I'm gonna go over these. And there we go. You should already see. So we're stacking up a load of fairly forgiving, not fully opaque techniques. And the end result of that should be that we can paint sloppy and fast and have fun and learn about lighting. And the end result can still be better than we feel. It's going to involve quite a lot of faith in the trust the process sense. So it'll stack up literally, and by the end of it, things will look okay. But we just need to hold the faith that they are. Some very procedural stuff going in the chat. Right. Spearmint. So I'm going to continue going. What we should find is that these highlights have the opportunity to go quite bright. I need to be careful not to go into my shadows with them. keep them on top of things. Get some more jade involved. First one was a bit too much, but the nice thing about this technique is if you get the order slightly wrong, it barely even slows you down. The belly is one of the harder areas to paint on the model, I think, because rather than being like super extreme folds, it's got more gentle ones, and they're just harder to get right, generally speaking. But in a general sense, it is starting to make a little bit more sense, I think, now, lighting wise. Jim Maxey, unpronounceable name. Kind of, but when you're doing NMM, you have to remember that every single edge needs highlighting. Every single edge gets very, very light at the very edge, and that changes everything. That's often why, if you are trying NMM, it just doesn't look great until you've done final touches, which will be the same here. So in that sense, it is similar. I'm starting to pick up some details now, but NMM's got, because metal is so shiny, even in your deepest recesses, the edges of metal should have a edge highlight on them. Even like, I mean, unless it's literally like black, but your model's not going to be black, is it? Not like full black all over. All right, so we've used our paints with a bit of white in them. If we think it's too much, can always just glaze it back. So I'll show you how you do that. Grab a bit of midnight. I will put a little bit of jade in it. So if anything is too much, you want things to be fully dry to do this, you can just soften your transitions. Soften anywhere you like. So if I've painted over the edges of my folds, for example, I'll just put this over the transition and more into the shadows, and that will soften it. Primed it black, done. 4 or greater. 5 and 6 would be absolutely fine. I use this size brush for like, I use this for almost everything. I would use this on Space Marines too, a 4. It's all about the tip. The tip is by far the most important bit. Okay, so we've done a little bit. We just softened our shadows a bit there. Now we can jump back and use pure spearmint. This has made a difference, just getting it in these sections that needed pulling up. So I want to be brave, even if it's not like super neat. I really want this model to read like the big ball he is from far off. This is very, very important. This wiggly section here is a bit of a nightmare. So I'm just going to generally hit it everywhere, but the recesses is going to be hit with this stage to make sure that it ends up light enough, because it's like a wiggly shelf pointing upwards. So a lot of it should be pretty light in the final paint job. And this is the section, I think, where most people would probably think that they've screwed up the painting process, and they would be wrong. When we start adding the following highlights, it's going to make more sense. It's all going to be okay, but you need to know that that's going to be the case. So that's one of my main jobs doing tutorials. People think that they've screwed up and they haven't. They just, a lot of the time, they just haven't finished. It's a really common error in judgment. Right. Start adding in our punchy colors. So this is lemon. We're going to add it into spearmint. This is strong, so it's going to make quite a big difference quite fast. Right, what I want to do now is these little details. We need to start painting those. Very, very important that these are there breaking up our big sweeping lines because they'll make it more believable. These would absolutely be catching the light and they'd be catching it a lot. If it's a sphere, you have a very easy time. You just highlight the bit that points upwards. So we've been general in a lighting sense, and now we just start being a little bit more specific. So this is a bit when we slow down, basically. Having gone fairly quick up until this point, but you should already be able to see the value that we're going to have just by hitting some edges and pulling out some pustules, some pitting, all the generally disgusting stuff that Nurgle has on offer. Already doing work. Any more questions? We're not working as fast now, so I'm just kind of dotting around the mini. We will put some other highlights on, but it's important to see how these are going to affect the final job. So I want to give myself a little bit of an impression of that now. It might be that this mix isn't light enough, for example, so it's good to do a little bit of experimenting at this point to find out why. I also need to compare it with the rest of my figure, make sure that it is light enough. Yeah, you definitely get more working time than most other brands. Not by lots, but the thing is, if you add a little bit to the end, even if it's 10%, because a lot of your working process is going to just be, like take up 80% of the paint's working time. If you add 10% to the end, you're probably doubling the amount of actual working time you have available, if that makes sense. Mathing it out. So you add a lot, you double the amount of time you have. If I'm putting down a base coat and the base coat takes 90% of Citadel's working time and then we get like 100% of the working time out, you're doubling how much fiddling time you have left while the paint is wet. So it's actually a very, very big difference, even if it's a small increase. Hopefully my morning maths checks out there or is understandable. Let me know if it wasn't. All right, starting to look effective now. My folds might be a little bit extreme. So at this stage, I'm just going to assess it, and I think I need to go back and put in some more subtle transitions. Not that subtle. It's not what we're going for, but we've got space. Okay. All right. We're going to have to call it there, I think, in a couple of minutes. We've made some decent progress, though. So if you let me know any final questions you've got, I'm going to aim to complete this guy on stream. I want him done because he looks pretty good. Gardens and games, that does work. Hey, Yanni. You need to get a decent humidifier or be in a small environment. It's just maths in order to change your environment. So they do work really well, actually. If you get, one that's bigger than the USB one, that makes a massive difference. Cool, progress was made. Thank you. So this has been painted using mini color, just to round things up. We've used Midnight, Jade, Spearmint, and Lemon only, and we've been doing some fast wet blending. I'm just going to do them generally in mornings, Robin. not fixed times, but make sure all of you that you're following us here and on Instagram, because I'm going to jump between doing them on YouTube and doing them on Instagram. So if you want to catch all of them, then make sure especially that you're following us on Instagram, because I always announce on Instagram if we're going to go live on YouTube. Yeah. All right, then. He's going to look really good by the end, I think. He's going to look very effective. We've still got some more highlighting to go here, but when we get onto the face, I think that'll make a huge difference. Oh, lovely. Well, we will catch you in the next one, Robin. All right, thank you very much. Check out the Mini Color Kickstarter. You can still late pledge now. And have a great day. Look at those two together.